What's up, guys? Welcome to our second of our 8-part playoff preview series. Today we got for you guys the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the New York Islanders. And once again, we got a division-winning team here in the Carolina Hurricanes up against a wild card in the New York Islanders. Now, the Islanders kept this really close. They waited pretty much till the last 2 days of the season to see if they were going to be in the playoffs, but they managed to make it. And like they say, in the playoffs, if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance to win. No one is ahead. It's a fresh start. And I'm really excited to see how this series goes.
Man, I was so prepared to have this team, New York Islanders, to play against Boston. I was like ready for this preview that this team is going to get crushed in that first round against Boston. And I'm like, what? How'd you finish Wildcard 1?
And then they moved up.
Because freaking Florida. But anyways.
Yeah, so let's get on with this. We're going to start here with the offense of this team. Carolina's offense, I got to be real, this is not a sexy offense by any means. This team really does struggle to score goals. I mean, you can look at it on the stats on the page here. This team's offense is not really that good. It's led by Sebastian Aho, who is a superstar in my mind. I love this guy. Great two-way player. Can score 40 goals sometimes. And he's pretty much always like around that point per game mark. But other than that, this is where this team really falls off. We're talking about a lot of younger players who are kind of still unproven. Guys like Kotkaniemi, Seth Jarvis, not really a lot of big name players on this offense. They're going to be relying a lot on guys like Turvo Tervenainen to really have some chemistry with Aho and get this going. And then on their second line, they're going to need Kotkaniemi's line to really do a lot more than it has in this regular season if they want to have any chance of going far in this playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. Like, the Carolina offense just looks so bad. It just doesn't look good. Even Sebastian Aho's having a down year personally.
Yeah, technically.
And he's only got, 67 points or something?
He did miss some time, though.
He did miss some time, but still 67 points is not good.
It's not what we expect.
And you look at Turvo Teravainen, he has 37 or 38 points. It's terrible. Like you just keep looking down. I mean, Netchus, they're lucky. Netchus had 71 points. I mean, he did all right. But
actually, I feel bad about forgetting Netchus.
Yeah.
This guy did have a really good career year, and he was really solid.
But who are they going to miss? They're going to miss Andrei Svechnikov. He's a big miss for this team.
That's insane.
It's going to be a huge part of their offense. It's not going to be good. They're going to have to count on Kotkaniemi. I'm not sure if this guy has what it takes to be the second-line center of this team in a playoff run.
And Jordan Staal is kind of getting up there in age. I don't really know about this offense. I think this is a team who's going to be relying a lot on playing the trap and winning games 2-1. I can't see many other paths for victory unless they win low-scoring games.
Now let's move on to the offense for the New York Islanders. Now the New York Islanders actually have a little bit better offensive weapon actually, to me, than the Carolina Hurricanes. They currently have they recently acquired Bo Horvat, which is a pretty good add. 70 points in a year, pretty good for him. They have obviously Matthew Barzal. They have Anders Lee. They have a lot of the old guys as well, like Kyle Palmieri and Zach Parise. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see how this team does in terms of the offensive front. What do you think about their offense?
Really liked what Brock Nelson did this year, actually. Brock Nelson was kind of a machine. He was scoring what felt like every game at some points in this season. Obviously, Bo Horvat adds a lot of goals to this team. I mean, this is a guy, 40-goal scorer they pretty much have now. And then Barzal coming back from injury, and he will be playing for Game 1. That is quite the difference for this team. I mean, without Barzal, I would say the chances of this upset would be unlikely, but I mean, it definitely makes it a lot closer. And this team's offense, what I really like about it is they got contributions from lower players and also older players. Guys like Zach Parise and Cal Palmieri actually did pretty solid this year, given the fact that they're kind of on the other side of 30 here, and Parise being closer to 40. But I mean, they were both really solid, and it really adds to the depth scoring of this team. This is a team that does tend to rely offensively on running four lines, whether it's Sezikis' line sometimes, or like Zach Parise's line, or of course, the big lines with Brock Nelson and Bo Horvat and Barzal and stuff, right? So, I mean, this is definitely a team that relies on offense as a whole rather than one or two lines.
Yeah, but I mean, both of these teams, in my opinion, don't have incredible scoring. Let's put it real.
No, we could argue that these are the two worst offenses of all 16 playoff teams, and I think that would be accurate.
Yeah, that's very accurate. Even we'll move on to the special teams later, but they're pretty much near the bottom as well for that.
Yeah, but we got to talk about something that both these teams do really well, and that is their defense, and that's what we'll be talking about here next, the defensive matchup here. I mean, when we look at Carolina, They went out and got Brett Burns, who I know is becoming an old man right now, but honestly, it was a bit of an improvement from Tony DeAngelo last year doing the same type of thing. Bit better of an actual defenseman, but he also still managed to put up a ton of points, breaking 60 points, which is really impressive for a guy his age. Good job, Brett Burns. And, they obviously got really solid, rounded out top four with Brett Pesce, and they got Jacob Slavin, who is always underrated, just such a great defensive defenseman. And then Brady Shea. This guy is also a really solid, gritty defenseman. And it's basically what Carolina relies on, is just having that really strong top 4D to get farther in the series every time.
Yeah, move on to the New York Islanders defense. It's very similar to Carolina's defense in terms of they got a solid core. They got Noah. It's led by, to me, Noah Dobson. He's an offensive demon. Actually, if you look at the New York Islanders season, they almost lead the league in hits, and the big reason why they lead the league in hits is because of their defense core. They got an incredible shutdown pair of Pelech and Pollock, and they also have Romanov. Who is
he might be missing some time.
He might be missing some time, but if they do get him back at some point, this guy can do a good job of hitting people and shutting down and blocking shots. It's a pretty good defense core, and it's very similar to me with the Carolina's defense core. It's pretty solid top to bottom.
Yeah, I even like their 5-6, like having Scott Mayfield, who we know you love that guy.
I love that guy.
And then the arch nemesis of Sebastian Aho,
Oh, yeah.
who might be filling in if Romanov's out. So that could be their sixth defenseman. That could be a good Aho on Aho action. But I don't know who I'd give the advantage to here. I would say a slight defensive advantage to Carolina, but it is as close as it gets. Both these teams really excel on the back end. Now moving on to the goaltending here. Now we're talking about pretty big gap, I'd say here. And you know what? I'm going to start off with the guy who I think is just drastically better and has been one of the top 3 goalies in the entire season this year. And that is Ilya Sorokin from the New York Islanders. This guy stood on his head all year. And if it wasn't for Linus Ullmark being so damn good, Sorokin would have won the Vezina this year. Like, he was just absolutely elite.
It's not even a contest. It's Sorokin all the way in this one. And Sorokin can steal games, and we've seen it before. Yeah, Sorokin is a very, very good goaltender. He's a top 3 goaltender in the league. And you're going against Freddie Anderson. Freddie Anderson's good, don't get me wrong.
He's solid.
But the thing is, I haven't seen a prime Freddie Anderson lately. So I have seen his game tailed off quite a bit this year. And if this trajectory continues, it's a big mismatch between these two goaltenders.
Yeah, on the Carolina side, Freddie Anderson is going to be the starter, but this team literally, we could see by game 3 or 4, any one of their 3 goaltenders. We could see Freddie Anderson, Antti Rantanen, or we could even see Pyotr Kochetkov. Like, he played really good. Technically, he was the best goalie this year. So, we don't know by the end of this series who's going to be in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. If they get ahead early, it's going to be Freddie Anderson. Let's be real. If they win the first or second game, they're probably keeping him. But if they go down 2-1 in a series, you might start to see Kochetkov be called up or Ranta play. So I definitely think it is a drastic advantage towards the Islanders in this category.
All right, now we move on to the special teams. Now we start with the power play. And no surprise here, both teams are not good in the power play. We have the New York Islanders, number 16th, bottom of all these 16 teams in the league in the playoffs. And so they're just not good, as you can see on the graphics right there. And then you have Carolina, not that much further up. They're number 14. They're just not good. Both these teams suck. So this is gonna be a boring series. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is probably the series I'm not gonna keep the
least excitement for. Yeah, if you guys do any playoff pools, like any hockey pools or anything, fade this series. Just do not take players from either of these teams in this series for points, because this is gonna be probably a snooze fest of 1-0, 2-1 games, maybe 3-1 here and there, but I just can't see very many goals.
And we move on to the penalty kill. Now, the penalty kill is where these two teams shine because they're good at defending.
They're not afraid to block shots.
They're not afraid to block shots. They're not afraid to hit, right? Get into shooting lanes and stuff like that. As you can see in the graphics, they're pretty high up there.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is because both these teams, it's not just the defensemen that are good at blocking shots and stuff. All the players buy in. Their systems are both very defensively strong. They play as one unit, and no one's really selfish. They all play as a good, tight group, and they clog lanes up. They don't let shots through, and it's going to be one of the other reasons why the series is probably going to be score-wise boring as hell.
Yeah.
We got to give you guys an X factor for each of these teams on who we think could stand out and make a difference in the series if one of their teams is to win. And I'm going to start off with the Carolina Hurricanes. And for me, this one was really easy. It's going to be Jesperi Kotkaniemi, second line center right now for this team. We already said it. This team doesn't score a lot of goals. But if Kotkaniemi stands up and has a really, really solid run in this round, that might be the edge Carolina needs to shut down the Islanders and win this series in advance.
I'm going to double dibs on this one as well. It's going to be Jesperi Kotkaniemi for me as well for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's like, I cannot emphasize how much pressure this guy has as a number 2 center. If this guy doesn't pan out in the playoffs, they're done.
Yeah, pretty much. Moving on to the New York Islanders. My X factor is going to have to be Bo Horvat. And I know that seems like a weird one, taking an obvious player, but for me, it has to be Bo Horvat. They went out and invested and got this guy because they needed goals. This team did not score goals. This was a very bland team with not a lot of offensive firepower, and Bo Horvat's supposed to be a 40-goal scorer. That's what he's been this year. So he's going to really have to step it up. He's going to have to dominate in this series and take a lot of the pressure away from Matt Barzal. It can't just be Barzal being the only center on this team. Horvat has to carry his weight and prove that they can run a top 6 that is very deadly offensively.
My X factor for New York Islanders, this is a tough one, but I think overall I will have to pick Noah Dobson here just because the power play needs to be better in the series, and he's going to be the big X factor for that power play because he's the PP1 power play specialist on that unit. So he's a terrific young player. He's got great potential in the future, but we need to see him shine now in the playoffs, and hopefully he can do that.
No, I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to have to move on to our final predictions here for this series to kind of wrap this up. And I'm definitely really kind of torn on this series because it's just these teams are very similar teams. But I'm going to have to say I have Carolina winning this series in a longer series. I have Carolina winning this series 4-2.
I have Islanders winning in 7 games. Book it.
Yeah, book it?
Yeah,
with a total of 15 goals in the series?
Exactly. That's all. It'll be a boring series. It's going to be, it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you maybe should just check the box score after. This might not be one to watch unless, of course, no offense, unless you are a Carolina or an Islanders fan, then I get it. But if you cheer for anyone else, you probably just want to fade this series. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video for our little preview on these two teams. And I just can't wait for the playoffs. Even if it is this match, it's going to be good. And we'll see you in our next video. Take care.
Bye.